We are here with Dr. Keith McCutchen and Natalie Wilkerson. They're here with the Kentucky Jazz Appreciation Month Collective. And as folks, if they don't know, April is Jazz Appreciation Month. And thank you all, again, before we get started, thank you all so much for coming on the show and being here.
Good morning. Thank
Happy
you.
to be here.
Yeah. So like I said, Jazz is Appreciation, or April is Jazz Appreciation Month. Dr. McCutchen, tell us why really that's important, and then where the idea came from with the Kentucky Jazz Month Collective.
Well, first of all, American music in general brings so many different entities together, and even in Kentucky, when we come to Kentucky to bluegrass and country music, now we're realizing the origins of the banjo is Africa, right? And so we see in Appalachia what meets when even these different characteristics come together. Irish culture and African rhythm share this type of lilt that manifest in various pieces, and we would never have thought that they did. And in that way of collectiveness of people and groups and things, jazz is all about that, and is acknowledged worldwide as this, as an American music. For that reason, UNESCO calls it a united treasure, which is what April 30th, International Jazz Day, is about. And again, the other thing about jazz in Kentucky is, because we are known so much as a bluegrass state, is that we have just prolific artists that come from here that have impact all throughout the world as well as throughout our country. And this time we will be honoring a number of what we would call our Frankfurt living legends, people from Frankfurt who have impacted this music and performance, education, etc., in very significant ways, and have been part of our community for a long time.
And so we'll get to, we mentioned there's lots of events coming up this weekend and next weekend in celebration of Jazz Appreciation Month. But you mentioned Frankfurt. Natalie, tell us a little bit about the sort of importance of having these events in Frankfurt, and maybe the Frankfurt connection to this as well.
Oh, certainly. Well, personally, I think that the arts are just a vital role in keeping a community vibrant and healthy and engaged. I grew up playing the piano and have picked up various instruments in my life since then. So having a general appreciation for music is, I think, important to everybody's life. I've known Keith for several years, and at last year's International Jazz Day concert at the Grand, Keith and I have talked about music a lot in our relationship, and hearing him talk about the broader impact and picture and effect that jazz can have in the global.
Sure, and if I can interject now, the impact of what arts education has been for our families, our children, et cetera, and where we've seen it throughout. But certainly, I think the ability. That's where things started with us seeing the arts, but then the ability to share jazz has become another component of that. I think.
Absolutely, and the other little part of that I'll share. I taught when I was in graduate school for several summers at a program for high school students, and I can't remember what the context was, but I asked my students how many of them have seen a live music performance, and I had a student in the class that was from Frankfurt, and he said he had never seen live music before. Wow. And I went to, growing up here, and then I went to college in Nashville and moved around a little bit from there, and live music just played such an important part in my life in growing up and adulthood and since then. Mm-hmm. And so with the opportunity for Keith being such an ambassador for the jazz program to bring more public events, introducing people to new styles of a very old and traditional style of music, but perhaps new to them. Yeah. Just how music can bring people together and and it can just broaden your horizons on so many different levels.
Yeah, and I think also, and Dr. McCutchen, you might be able to speak to this, jazz as an art form and as a genre of music, I mean, it's all about collaboration and improvisation, and it really does, I mean, it to me, it does blend those things and bring people together, and you have to read one another. And
it does do that. It really does, and I think there's many layers to that concept. Both those that from rock and roll artists to all different genres that don't do jazz, they like to get that aspect from jazz and bring it to their music because it is that type of freeing principle within it that allows one to not only to continue to discover self, but how to interact with others in a way that brings something new, even in the moment.
And expression as well. And,
sure.
Well, let's talk about some of the events. We've mentioned there's so many things going on in connection to the celebration here this weekend. Next, the first thing I've got here is the Museum Hop and Block Party. Let's talk about that a little bit. That's this Friday night, right?
Yes, it is. It's this Friday night, and again, something else, another place where both of our interests have met is history, the history of Frankfurt. And as these events are more than music, they are collaborations with different institutions where they commit some of their programming and or at least their space so that the public can not only experience the music, but they experience that institution. Yeah. So people who may not even think of going to the museum are going to have the opportunity to experience museum as well as music. And so we're going to have jazz violins in the Commonwealth Hall, the big space of the Historical Society building. And that's going to be a wonderful performance with Bella Ive and Corey Jackson, two wonderful young artists here in our community. And then outside, we're going to have a number of artists, including a group that we're calling the Origins of the Blues. Mr. Greg Figgs, a Georgetown native who I've worked with since I was at UK back in the early 80s. Wow. And has been a good lifelong friend. And he was an educator, public educator in Scott County and as well as Fayette County schools, but has always understood the blues as a part of the history and trajectory of the African American experience. And so just a wonderful blues artist, very authentic. And so that's why, everyone loves the blues now, but just taking it back to its origins. And then there's this gentleman, William Breedlove, that we found that's here. And he plays instruments that are like very archaic, old Mississippi type instruments, a slide instrument, which also is in country music, but then other three strings, a cigar box, where you take a cigar box and make a guitar out of a cigar box, because if you can't buy a guitar, you can find the old cigar box in the trash and make. And so after them, we have a student from K-State who is Afro-French. Student, wonderful, phenomenal artist. He's already got an agent and has quite a performance background behind him. Driptodon is his stage name. And he will be performing. We're going to have local DJ Broderick Redden. We'll be collaborating with him. And again, this is about sharing community. So even though they wouldn't be known as a jazz group, we are reaching everyone in the community and sharing this opportunity with people in the community, which we're going to have Frankfurt's own Native Invaders performing as well.
Oh, really? On Friday night?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And can I add too
Sure.
we're trying to tell Frankfurt's story as a community, and bringing together these different genres in the name of jazz and celebrating the history and the two institutions that are, helping coordinate this effort is really all about telling Frankfurt's story.
And then
which is what the museums are doing.
yeah.
Both there's some films that will be shown, slides, from the archives, slides about some of the jazz events from the past, as well
musical
as
history.
musical history,
Yeah.
if you will.
I can't believe all that's happening just on Friday. we haven't even touched Saturday. So tell us about Jazz Fest at the Paul Salyer Public Library on the 22nd.
Well, again, the concept came of everyone had a part in trying to initiate this, and I thank Natalie for reaching out to the Friends of the Public Library as well as their fabulous executive director. And all these things for artists out there thinking about doing something, all these things start with an idea and then a proposal, and then you share your vision with people and you go from there. It's not, just someone said, hey, I want you to, this is a chance for you to do something. You share the vision, and people can buy in, and it becomes something larger than you. Mm-hmm. And so we're very appreciative to the Paul Sawyer Public Library for their commitment to this day of activities. Mm-hmm. From 12 to 4, we'll have music outside. Already thinking about rain location, but if we need to, but we'll be right outside facing down towards the river. I got the Raleigh Daily Trio. Raleigh is one of the staple jazz pianists in the area. Dr. Raleigh Daly teaches at University of Kentucky. That's a wonderful trio. Kirby Davis, who is our professor of woodwinds at Kentucky State, also a graduate of the program with Dr. Daly, but he will be joining on tenor saxophone. I just got word Mary Jackson will not be with us on this event. She had something that had come up. Lachelle Allen and her were part of a duo that took place last year that was just incredible. Lachelle came up out of the audience and they did this collaboration. Lachelle Allen is about as versatile of an artist as you're going to meet. We did a concert in Whitesburg where she was doing like literally what I would call Afro-Latin type of music, where it was very folk ethnic music. But then she also is classically trained and it was fresh off of being a part of the production at the Met of Porgy and Bess.
Oh,
and
no way.
so that's the breadth of her ability to express musically. And so as a jazz artist with that. And then at 4:00, we have in the River Room, Jazz Meets Poetry.
Yeah, and you'll be leading that discussion, right?
Well, it's going to be a performance. It's going to be a performance. There will be readings by Frank X. Walker, our former Poet Laureate of Kentucky, and a dear friend I've known since the early 80s at UK. Another chance to collaborate with him.
That's a Danville guy, Zach.
Oh,
by the way.
okay.
Indeed, he is. Yes, and he has signs coming into town
That's
to
right.
show it. Yeah. And so very honored about that, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. Frank has done some serious research on Kentucky history since the Civil War, and you're going to be surprised. He's created several new works as a result of this collaboration, again, dealing at trajectory of African-American life in Frankfurt, pre, during, and post Civil War Reconstruction. And so some profound work that he's looking into as we celebrate this collaboration of entities, even though we look at what's going on as our city, past, present, and as we even look into the future, where these collaborations are allowing us to explore those things.
Yeah, and so both of those events on Friday and Saturday are free, right, and open to the public?
Those are free and open to the public.
That's amazing.
And I think the important thing to emphasize too with the library event is that it includes the literacy component of Jazz Appreciation Month. So we've got poetry
Indeed.
and music
And can
together.
can you believe that we're about to leave out the instrument petting zoo? And you have to tell the story.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Yeah,
Yeah.
With
Lexington Philharmonic is
right?
gonna have
Yes.
an instrument petting zoo.
Yes.
And you can make them laugh and tell my story.
Well, I first brought this up because they have been at various events around town and thought, oh, this would be perfect to have, and I think they call it their music lab. And I said that to Keith, and he's thinking, he's like, okay, yeah, that'll work. I think that'll work. And he really is thinking about a pen with animals in it and how we were going to make that work with Jazz Month.
I was ready. I was ready to perform for the animals and the children. It was,
I've heard music does soothe animals pretty
And
well.
vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah, you constantly see those videos on YouTube, like somebody will pull up to a field full of cows, and they always zone the music speaks to. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then moving along with we don't have too much time for the rest of our show, but KSU Day of Jazz. Let's talk about that as well.
Well, actually, that's been condensed. I'll quickly say our KS Jazz Ensemble will be performing for the Simon House tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And that's not on here, but that's Professor Robert Griffin will be leading that group.
Yeah.
That's a benefit to the Simon House, which is a good segue to the 28th. We are celebrating. This is at the Grand Theater. Robert Griffin is one of the people being honored here. This is a chance to honor so many people that I've known personally. Again, trajectory from the 80s forward. And all these people I've personally played music with, but they are part of the Frankfurt tradition. They were born and raised here. Former Mayor Bill May. I'll never forget the first time I played a gig with the mayor at the time. When I first got here, he was the mayor at the time. And Kimba Cofield, a wonderful vocalist. Her father and mother's history here is long. She is a K-State graduate. Kimba has 3 albums she's recorded with some really fine national level artists when she lived in Atlanta, but she's home now. Brooks Giles, who also had a New York stint and is back home now, came back home taking care of parents, like Kimber. Yeah, right. And Ricky Cook, trumpet, Hunt Butler, Robert Griffin, all 3 of them studied under Tom Bronner, this legendary teacher who we will also honor, who just impacted this area in such a way. Tom Simph, trombonist, won't play with us this time, but he's still living and will be there, and we'll honor him. The National Endowment jazz artist Jamie Abersole, who was a teacher to all of us and lived right across the river in New Albany, but has an international pedagogy, educational thing that everyone buys his materials. That's interested in this music.
Yeah, and has the jazz clinic.
And clinics, exactly. Yeah. Yes, yes. And for years. Oh, yeah. And Jamie is 82, and it's an honor and a privilege to be able to recognize him again and his commitment to this music and to this area. Mm-hmm. And 2 of his longstanding musicians, Tyrone Wheeler and Jonathan Higgins, will be performing as well. And okay, so I know we're almost out of time, but
that's Friday night, right?
That's Friday
at
night.
7 p.m.
Yes.
If folks can get tickets,
yes.
They can go on Grand Theater.
Please
on the
support.
Grand Theater's website.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can get them in advance and the day of. We will have at least one high school band performing outside before. I think Josh Tapas and the Franklin County High band will be performing before. And also Trayvon King will be performing outside of Trifecta Barbecue, both during and after as well. So we're going to have music on the square, the Battle of the Bands there. And the April 30th, which is actually International Jazz Day.
Yes.
There will be a jazz brunch at our newest location in town for a great meal, Lime Water. And Will Renshaw and Frankfurt's own Laura Penn will be performing. After I get out of church at 1 o'clock, I'm going to come and play at Mary Jackson. You will get to see Mary Jackson there. She'll join me at 1, and we'll finish out that time. And again, hope you'll enjoy the food, the atmosphere, the music, and this special day.
I think what I've from everything you all have mentioned, all these events, and we'll continue to mention these on the show as we go through the next 2 weeks leading up to them. But one thing I've loved hearing about is the collaboration, really, with something you all talked about before, with the library and then with our historical societies here in town and different restaurants and like the Grand Theater and incorporating so much of Frankfurt. So I really appreciate that.
That is the goal, and we must, obviously, for all the right reasons, but because it does mean they have contributed and committed not only with their mouth but with their dollars and with their resources. We want to acknowledge again all the sponsors that are part of it. I don't know if you can show the one of the posters again so we can acknowledge the sponsors, or if that's even
like the
permitted.
Jazz Fest maybe.
For the fest and whatnot. And so again, the Paul Sawyer, the Visit Frankfurt, what else do we have?
Lex Arts.
The other two Frankfurts.
City of Frankfurt.
Yes. Visit Frankfurt.
Yes. And of course, we're honored to present this as K-Jam Collective, and honored to have Mrs. Wilkerson, Natalie, as our spokesperson and chair for this year's festival and work all along. And again, as far as K-Jam Collective goes, our commitment to sharing jazz throughout the state, in particular to bring awareness and to be a part of solutions to what's going on in the cities of Lexington and Louisville. And not so much here in Frankfurt on the same level, but even impeding or preventing any of the levels of gun violence and other things that are going on, which we believe that it is our job, in addition to helping the authorities, to help our communities by offering things that empower our children and equip them to be citizens and to be a part of our community.
Yeah, productive and inspiring things that we can aim these younger folk into. And
yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Dr. McCutchen, Natalie, thank you also so much for coming
on
the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. We're so excited.
We'll see you Friday.
We'll see you Friday.
Yes.